Okay, Mr. Watson here, and in this video we're going to look at Fiedler's contingency model of leadership. So, this was a model which looked at the way the leader interacts with the situation they find themselves in. So in this model there were three parts, and the first part was finding out your leadership style. Are you a task-orientated leader or a person-orientated leader? And how Fiedler did this was he gave out a questionnaire and he asked leaders or other co-workers who want to be in leadership positions what they think of their least preferred co-worker, the Lpc scale. So as you can see here, pleasant, unpleasant, friendly, unfriendly. And he just asked quite simply to circle the number on the scale. And what was found that if you have a high Lpc, you can see the best in them. Yeah, might not be the best player, but they're nice. I can trust them. They're loyal, kind of thing. You're a person-orientated leader. Okay, you can still see the best in people. If you had low Lpc, you would deem more of a task-orientated leader. Okay, you're very focused on the job in hand. You're not really there to form relationships with the co-workers. You're there to get the job done. So a task-orientated leader tends to be good at organising teams and projects and getting things done. A person-orientated leader tends to be good at building good relationships and managing conflict to get things done. Okay? So that was part one, figuring out whether you're a task-orientated leader or person-orientated. Okay? Now the second part was looking at the situation and was that situation favourable? Okay. Now the effectiveness of the leader, and remember you can either be person orientated or task orientated. The effectiveness of how you lead, your leadership skills, will be dependent upon three factors according to Fiedler. So we had leader-team relations. This focused on the trust between you and your teammates, you and your players, you and your athletes. The more trust increases the situation favourableness. Okay? The less trust you have reduces the situation favourableness. Okay? So more trust, the better the situation, more favourable for this. Then we had task structure. Clear tasks increase the favourableness of the situation. The task is clear, everyone knows what they have to do. Vague tasks reduce how favourable that situation is. Okay, very straightforward. And then finally we had position power, which linked to authority. The more authority you have, do you have final say on picking the team? When selling a player, do you have the final say? When buying a player, do you have the final say? The more authority you have, that increases the situation favourableness, and less authority decreases it. Okay, so in Fiedler's model, stage one, what type of leader are you? Stage two, we look at more favourable or less favourable situations, and your effectiveness will depend on that. So he did this quite simply. Again, you ask yourself three questions, and you can even use the same scale 1 to 8. Is trust with your team high or low in that leader-team relations? Rank it. Are tasks vague or clear-cut? Are they well understood? Task structure. Is your authority low or high? Position power. So as you can see, it's fairly easy to carry out this model and use it. So this is why it was being used, okay? Then the third part is finding the right leadership style. So Fiedler's perspective suggests you would place leaders into situations that are most suited to their style. So you would look at the situation and put either a task-orientated or person-orientated, depending on whether that situation suited their style. Now, if we look at the graph and the table below, in favourable situations where things are all good, high or strong, or maybe 2 are good and the position power might be weak. It suits task-motivated leaders better, task-motivated being the red line on the graph. So the more favourable a situation, you want them task-orientated leaders to go in and take control. Funnily enough, in the unfavourable situations, it also suited task-motivated leaders. So things aren't going well. Can kind of link it to our last video, maybe a more autocratic style, task motivated. You go in there and get the job done. You take control of that group. You start saying, this is what we are doing. It's clear. These are our steps. So a task orientated leader, task motivated, they found themselves more effective in situations which were favourable and on the opposite end of the scale, unfavourable. It was in this middle section when it was more moderate in how favourable the situation was, that suited relationship orientated leaders. Okay, so when there's a bit of a mixture, so as you can see there, in some situations the trust is good, the trust is poor, the task structure can be low or high, or leader position power can be weak or strong. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, and more like the democratic, that relationship motivated. You care about them interpersonal relationships. You'd be better suited to situations that were moderately favourable. Okay, so let's have a look at some scenarios. Scenario 1. You have been hired as the manager of Real Madrid. I put prescribed in brackets there to link it back. So it's a prescribed leader. It's come from the outside. And here's the factors. Okay, now they've had 4 managers in the last 2 seasons, and he's been getting rid of players. Okay, so the trust is low in that team. The trust is going to be low. The players aren't ready to trust the manager. However, it's Real Madrid football team. Task structure is high. The players are there to win football matches. Okay, Real Madrid, they play attacking football. Okay, they are expected to get 3 points and win the league. Everyone knows their task. And position power is high. They get in a coach who's well qualified. You've come in and you can say, do you want to keep that player or not? Okay. So we look in this situation, and in this situation, a person-orientated leader would be better, trying to build that trust. So if we went back to that graph in the table, this has moderate favourableness. Okay, so it's in that middle of the graph, and these things would link up there to best suit a person-orientated leader. Go and build that trust. We've got multi-million-pound players here. Build a relationship, get them playing. Okay, scenario 2. You have been promoted to be the head coach of Barcelona. You are an emergent leader. You are currently managing the reserves, the youth team, and now you find yourself as the head coach of Barcelona. Now, trust will be high. You're well known to the players. They know the success you've had in the reserves, in the youth teams. You know the Barcelona way of football. You know that task structure. You keep possession. You don't let the other team breathe when they have the ball. You keep the ball. Okay, everyone knows the task. You've been at the club. Okay, everyone knows. However, position power is low. You are friendly among the group. Okay, and actually the people above, the directors, they sign the players and they pass them down to you. They sign the players. This is the model. This is a Barcelona style player. They sign them. So the position power is low. In this situation, a task-orientated leader would be best. Okay, the trust is already there. You're just going in to win football matches. Okay, you don't have all the power. You just get your players and you have a task in hand. Win matches. Play the Barcelona way. Win the league. Okay, so in that situation, it's task-orientated. And there's many other examples I could give. Okay, so let's just summarize here. The advantages of this model. Okay, as a rule of thumb, you can identify a correct leadership style for a situation. It does take the situation into account, which some models don't, and it's very easy to use. It's easy to measure, 1 to 8 rankings, okay? The disadvantages are it's not very flexible, okay? Why can you not be task and person orientated. So if you fall into that middle, there's no guidance on your leadership style. And nowadays, it's very common actually that you do build relationships and you're task motivated. The Lpc scale is subjective. Okay, lots of people can feel that in different ways. It is subjective, and your assessment of a situation is also subjective. In your head, that might be a favourable situation, but if someone else analyses it, it might not be. So that these were some of the disadvantages of the Fiedler's contingency model of leadership. So sometimes these models can be a bit daunting in exams, and this might be more detail than you actually need for Cambridge. But I just thought I'd go through it. You can pause, go back, take the parts that you like, and having this knowledge and knowing the 3 stages of the model, task oriented, person oriented, you'll be able to answer most questions on it. Okay, thank you.